You are listening to the Life, Hope, and Leadership podcast with Nick Shabrinsky, a transparent, honest, and encouraging podcast to equip you through real-life experiences.
What's up, you beautiful people? Thank you so much for jumping in on Life, Hope, and Leadership podcast with me, Nick Shabrinsky. I hope these podcasts are blessing you, encouraging you, challenging you, kicking your butt, pushing you further in life, maybe lifting your head up, giving you confidence to move forward, maybe giving you that breath back that you might have lost in a situation. That's why I did these podcasts, get stuff off my chest, but also let us navigate together, man. We're all going through stuff. We're all living life. The Bible tells us, in this world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer, because your faith in me, Jesus said this, your faith in me overcomes the world. It's a big deal, man. Life can be very difficult. And that actually brings me into my podcast today. Today, I just wanted to share some thoughts on conflict. Life is conflicting. In life, you're surrounded by so many different stimuli. One of those stimuli are people. People are conflicting. Frustrations, conflicting. Jobs, conflicting. Bills, conflicting. Religions, conflicting. You have so many different religions. People go, how can you have one religion that's wrong and then another one tell them, that theirs is right, and you tell this person they're bad and that person's good? I always say, though, if there's any one way, there has to be a way. If there's any way, then there has to be one way. Can't take 25 different ways to get to 25 different gods and expect to show up at the same place. Doesn't even make sense, especially when those places don't even, those people, those different religions don't even believe in the same place at the end. So there's got to be truth. And, the Bible says, how can we walk together unless we find agreement? So this is a lot of conflict stuff. Things are conflicting. My pastor always told me, when you're dealing with people, you're dealing with problems. When you're dealing with people, you're dealing with problems. One of my favorite verses in the Bible, it helps me stay calm, helps me keep my focus, helps me keep moving. Unmet expectations breed frustration is a quote, but it comes from the verse, a hope deferred makes the heart sick. The reality is I think a lot of us are dealing with heart sickness because we all have hopes. We have hope that people will hear us. We hope that our kids will be phenomenal. We have hope that we'll get that pay raise. We have hope that that prayer that we prayed will be answered in a timely manner. We have hope that we'll have that dream job, that dream marriage, that dream house, the dream car, keeping up with the Joneses. Everybody who puts a post on Instagram, social media, TikTok, deep down inside there's a hope. People will like it. They'll share it. Everybody has a hope. Nobody sings a song without hoping it'll be heard. Nobody writes a poem without hoping it would be read. Nobody paints a picture without hoping it would be seen. And this brings us to frustration, conflict. We're all a bunch. I tell my wife all the time, we'll just be laughing because we deal with stuff all the time. And sometimes you start getting frustrated and you want to get mad at people. And then I just laugh and I look at her and I just say, we're all jacked up, babe. We're all jacked up. Everybody I know. Jacked up. I have never met an unjacked person. Even the most unjacked people I've ever met, I find out down the road, oh my gosh, they're jacked up too. We're all a bunch of conflicted people, but that doesn't mean we have to, stay in the mass of our mess. The goal is to get better, always. That's why Jesus said, man, be holy as I am holy. It's what the Bible tells us. So be different, be set apart. Jesus said, come to me who are weak and weary, I'll give you rest. He didn't say, come to me who are weak and weary and keep whining about how tired you are. So there's these awesome hopes for us, but hope deferred makes the heart sick. Man, I thought if I became a Christian, things would get better. Okay, well, maybe, eventually. And what do you mean by better? A lot of people go, oh, okay, God is real, then why is the world a mess? Well, yeah, I get it. The world's a mess because we're messy people. Doesn't mean we have a messy God. Well, God's in control. Well, if God was in control, you would do everything right. So it tells me that God's not in control, but it also doesn't tell me that God is powerless. So when I'm dealing with conflict, one of the greatest conflicts is people. When you're dealing with people, you're dealing with problems. And it seems like we live in a society today that everybody just gets conflicted all the time. It's increasing. It's happening faster and faster and faster. Every time I turn around, there's another person mad at this person. That person's mad at that person. That group of people are mad at that group of people. And we have to sit back and go, wait. Why am I always upset? Why do I always have this expectation that everything's going to be fine? Why? What is stimulating your frustration? And you have to ask yourself that. What is stimulating your frustration? What are you mad about? How often are you mad? These are questions you need to ask to have personal accountability to your emotions. And I think that when we're dealing with conflict, let's just be honest. The first equation of conflict is self-awareness. And you have to ask yourself, what type of self-awareness do you have? Now, most people think they have great self-awareness. But the question is do you? Have you done an inventory of your emotions? Have you done an inventory of your track record? You know, if I had 25 best friends in 5 years, I have to ask myself, are the people the frustration, or am I frustrating? Are the people leaving me, or am I pushing people away? These are questions you have to ask yourself. So you have to ask yourself right now, first of all, conflict. Man, that person cut you off on the road. Do you get mad at everybody on the road? Man, you're in another job. It's always your boss's fault. It's always your environment. It's always the people. Do you expect there to be a perfect relationship? Do you expect there to be a perfect job? Do you ever expect to actually have a perfect boss? Here's one of my favorite things that I've realized, and I've talked to a lot of entrepreneurs. They go, man, I always couldn't stand my boss, and then I became my boss. And now I don't even like myself. Because you realize, wow, the frustration is in yourself. Most of the problems that we have are within ourselves. And so the first step to real conflict resolution is owning the conflict. You have to own the conflict. You have to own, okay, wait, man, I have to look at this thing with a really good perspective. I have to step back and have God's grace over my life and over the lives of other people. I love what Jesus said, man. He's sitting on the cross. People just beat the living crap out of him. They nailed him to a cross. He's bleeding out, giving his life for you and me. He looks down at people and he says, Father, forgive them. They're ignorant of the things they're doing. And this gives me grace. This gives me grace for all my pastors. This gives me grace for people that I lead. This gives me grace for my wife. This gives me grace for people that I have conflicting perspectives about things with. And I've learned how to unfollow people on social media. I've learned how to block people on social media, and not to block them because I don't love them. It's just easier just to be like, you know what? We're good. We don't have to get along. And some people, no, we have to get along. So we're going to talk about this. And that's the second part of dealing with conflict is you got to speak up. And I think one of the greatest problems that I'm seeing in the world today is we think we can deal with conflict through emails and text messages. We think we can deal with conflicts through passive slights on social media. Let me leave a post over here. Let me leave a comment over there that's about the people. And maybe they'll just somehow come across that thought or that feeling, and then they'll come to me and we'll talk about it. And then what you're doing is festering, and what you get is an abscess of emotion. And an abscess is an infection below the surface that needs to be popped and drained. You can't do that until you speak up. The Bible literally says that, man, if you got an offense with a brother or sister, go to them, talk to them. The Bible says if you have an offering, literally the Bible says if you have an offering to bring to the Lord and you're holding offenses in your heart towards the brother or sister in your life, go back to them, deal with that issue between you guys, and then bring your offering. So these are important. You got to speak truth. You got to speak up. You got to go to people. It's so crazy how people go on, nobody ever calls me, and then they send them to voicemail. Most people literally will say, oh, just text me, just text me, just text me. And we've created a text society, which isn't a society at all. We're sitting here just talking to each other through print, through letters that have no tone, that have no context, have no dialogue. They get completely misinterpreted. And we got to get back to a place where we love people. We love each other. And I think that's honestly the biggest part of it is we keep saying, love yourself, to thy own self be true. And then that's not even true. I mean, like literally, if we think about it, we're telling people to love themselves, but then people are morphing their bodies left and right. I got new butt lifts, new arm implants, new lip injections. And I'm not just talking about for ladies. I'm talking for dudes too, steroids and these things and those things. We're mutilating ourselves constantly trying to find something to love. And then we have this massive statement over a blanket of our society saying, oh yeah, we should love ourselves. But then we don't let people love themselves for looking in the mirror and just going, wow, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. But I'm going to be honest, one of the greatest ways to help people love themselves is to show them love. And you can't do that just through text messages and emails and social media posts. We got to get out. We got to touch people. We have to own our frustration. We have to be able to go to people and say, hey, listen, I know I made you mad. I know I dropped the ball. Hey man, you know what? I wanted you to know, hey, I was really upset at you because you didn't call me back, or I was really mad at you because, you didn't give me that promotion or whatever. And we go and we own it. We explain how we feel. Yeah, that's important. That's a part of emotional intelligence, actually saying how you feel, but learning how to say how we feel without making the other person wrong. Just because you feel something doesn't mean it was necessarily right. It might be how you felt. It might be your perception, but you can't really work out true perspectives until you give your perception. And then as you own it and you speak up, you develop perspectives. Hey man, I didn't realize that. I always laugh. I said before, I was showing somebody a cut on my finger, realized I was flipping them off. In our context, it was funny. People outside of our context from a different perspective might have thought that that Christian pastor guy was flipping another person off. Had no idea. We're bound to hurt each other if we don't speak up. And last, I just want to say, be gracious to each other. If Jesus can forgive the people on the cross, then we got to be able to forgive people, even when they put us on crosses, even when they crucify us, even when they hurt us or drop the ball. The reality, guys, we're all in this together. And I just wanted to share this because I deal with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people on a weekly basis that I get to love and nurture and care for. And this is one of the reasons why I did this podcast, to care for a lot of people by sharing my heart and just being honest, being very genuine on a podcast. That maybe you can sit back and go, crap, why am I always mad at my mom? Why am I always mad at my brother? Why am I always mad at my sister? Why am I always frustrated at my job? Why am I mad at that person at church? Why am I mad at that person, my neighbor? How long are you going to go without talking about it? Silence is not a form of maturity. Holding your tongue is a form of maturity. Shutting down is not. Being upset is a reality. Dealing with frustration is maturity. So anyway, I hope that kind of sparks some thoughts in you. Take the moments to speak up. Don't let the moment go by. Don't let it go by and then deal with it and frustrate and talk and gossip and murmur and go home and be angry and think everybody hates you. We're all in this together. We're all jacked up. I hope this helps you. Have a great day.
You are listening to the Life, Hope, and Leadership podcast with Nick Shabrinsky, a transparent, honest, and encouraging podcast to equip you through real life experiences.